everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. You know, Thanksgiving is right around the corner and I know we're all thinking about all the traditional things that we make, but how about something new this year? Whether you do it for your family or whether you decide that you want to make this for your office party or maybe something with your Sunday school class, I've got 3 wonderful side dishes. We're going to start tonight with a wild rice and greens casserole that uses the now famous kale that everybody's talking about. And then secondly, I'm going to do a 5-cheese macaroni and cheese that's really delicious, has a great new topping on it. And then finally, a creamed oyster with spinach. And that would be one that would be really a wow factor if you've got your family coming over and you want to do one new dish this time. So let's get started on the wild rice and green casserole. And I've got about a medium-sized Vidalia onion that I've chopped. I've got it in my cast iron skillet that's just the best utensil ever. And I'm sauteing it down until the onions get nice and golden brown. I chopped it kind of rough and then also some smaller pieces because I like a little bit of variation of the onion in this dish. So this is just about where I want it to be. It's on about a medium heat. And now I'm going to add in 3 minced garlic cloves, some fresh thyme, about a tablespoon, and then how about 1/4 of a teaspoon of fresh nutmeg. So now we're talking fall when you start throwing in the garlic and the nutmeg, and it's going to really just cook up in those aromas. One of my favorite parts of Thanksgiving is actually all the smells from the beginning of the morning till the end of the night when you put that last piece of bread together with the turkey from the turkey sandwich is always great. Okay, so now I'm going to add in, and I had about 4 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan when I started sauteing the onions. I'm going to start adding in a little bit of flour. This is about 3 tablespoons. I'm going to turn this heat down just a little bit. 3 tablespoons, and then prior to coming on the air, I cooked my kale down in salted water. And so this, believe it or not, was a whole bag of kale. So now we're down to, what, a small, medium-sized bowl. But I'm just going to mix this in. And I added just a little bit of salt to the water when I cooked that down. Okay, so now let's start adding the liquid. And I've got a cup of chicken broth. And if you cooked your turkey earlier in the day, you could also use turkey broth for this. So I'm just going to slowly add this, and this is where it'll start getting thick, you know, with the flour that's in it. And you know, kale really has taken off. So many recipes, and the magazines that I've been getting for the last few weeks have lots of recipes with kale. So if you haven't tried it yet, now is the best time to do it. Okay, so that was a cup of chicken broth, and now I'm going to add in a cup of whole milk. And this really, by the time you get the rice and the sun-dried tomatoes and everything in here, it's going to be a really pretty dish. It doesn't seem quite as much like a casserole dish. You know, there's something about the word casserole that people think you cut corners. All right. So now I'm going to start adding in, this is a 1/2 cup of chopped sun-dried tomatoes. And then I cooked the wild rice earlier, so we'll get this in. And see, you're not even really messing up a whole lot other than the bowls. And I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and this is going to cook for about 18 minutes because everything in the casserole is already cooked. So this would be the perfect thing when you're trying to juggle that oven space to make a dish like this. So I've already sprayed my pan. I'm going to add in 1/2 of some wonderful cheese. This is a provolone cheese. And my casserole dish is ready. So we'll spoon that in. This is gonna go in the oven, and when we come back after the break, I'm gonna get started on that 5-cheese macaroni and cheese. Welcome back, and as we said, Thanksgiving is in the air, and I know I have quite a lot to be thankful for, and I'm sure you do as well. And while we finish the first segment of the show, the casserole, I wanted you to see what it looked like before it went into the oven, because it is such a pretty dish. And I actually made a mistake. I told you guys it was provolone cheese, but it was Gruyere cheese. And I'm using so many cheeses today, I'm having a hard time keeping one from the other. But that's going to go in a 350-degree oven for about 18 minutes. So like I said, that's a great casserole when you're juggling oven space. And then I started with this beautiful white sauce that's going to be the basis for the macaroni and cheese. I heated 1 stick of butter, unsalted butter. I added in slowly 4 tablespoons of just plain flour and got it kind of a nice golden brown. And then very gradually added in 4 cups of whole milk. And so now, as you can see, I've got a really nice creamy mixture for this macaroni and cheese. And now you're going to see why I'm getting all my cheeses mixed up, because I have 5 different ones that we're going to put in this macaroni. So we're going to start with cheddar. This is just a sharp cheddar cheese, and I've got about 4 ounces of that. Then I'm going to do a white cheddar cheese. And you know, if you'll mark when you buy this in a block that's bigger, of course, than what I'm using, I put all of mine in little Ziploc bags and marked it and dated it, and I can guarantee you over the holidays I'm going to have plenty of opportunity to use this cheese that I didn't use. Now this is a provolone cheese, and I freshly grated all of this with my little hand grater. Makes it so nice. And then I've got a finely grated Parmesan, and then an Asiago cheese. I knew I was going to pronounce that wrong. And you only use an ounce of that because that's a really strong, really good cheese. So now let's mix all of this together. And you know, when I do the camp that I do in the summer with the children, we talk about these big meals that are done during the holidays, and where does everybody go for Thanksgiving? Do you go to Granny's house, or does your mom have it at her house, or do you go to your favorite aunt's house? And you know, the answers are all over the place when they give that. But it is without a doubt, when I say, what is your favorite dish during Thanksgiving? They all say macaroni and cheese. So for all of you grandmothers out there, and aunts and moms that make this macaroni and cheese, and you slave over it, grating all the cheese and everything, just remember you're creating some very special memories, because those kids love it. All right, now this is elbow macaroni that I cooked ahead, and this is a pound of that, and this is going to go into a 9 by 13 inch pan. And just look at all of that gooey cheese. Oh, this is going to be so good. You know, the other thing that's really nice about this dish is people don't realize that you can freeze macaroni and cheese really well. So as long as you're doing this and you've had to buy all of those cheeses, why not make a few regular size instead of a great big casserole like this? Make a few extra so you've got something in the freezer if you need to take something to somebody. So now I'm going to add in about 2 teaspoons of salt, and then some freshly cracked tricolor pepper. Because having something in the freezer just comes in handy when you least expect it. Okay, so let's flip this over into the pan. Just the perfect amount for the 9 by 13. And then the topping is what is so great, is croissants that I toasted in the oven. So instead of that cracker crust that you're used to using, all those Ritz crackers, do something different this time and pick up these nice croissants that the Fresh Market, and just toast them for a few minutes and put that on top. This is going to join the other dish for 20 minutes at 350. So come back with me after the break. We're going to get started on the creamed oysters and spinach. There's so many rules of thought on what's appropriate when you get an invitation that requires a gift. For example, a birth announcement, a wedding invitation, a baby shower, all of these things that you may or may not be able to attend, but a gift is supposed to accompany those things. What is appropriate in terms of how quickly you get that gift to that person? Well, certainly if you're planning to attend the shower or the anniversary party, for example, you might want to take the gift with you to that event. If it is a wedding invitation, you actually have 6 months after the wedding to actually get the gift to that person. And something like a note in terms of thanking for a dinner party or a special invitation, you might not get to it 2 or 3 days after the event, but it's never too late to get that thank you note in the mail. Welcome back, and I'm getting so excited about the holidays. I hope you guys are too, and there's just nothing like a new dish to get you all fired up to get in the kitchen. And honestly, you could do exactly what I did tonight and get all 3 of them done at one time. It's just not that hard to do. Put your favorite music on. You know, think about the family you're going to get to see that you haven't seen in a long time, and it's quite a lot of fun. All right, so while we were away from the break, I got both of those delicious casseroles out of the oven, and they are spectacular. The wild rice and greens and the macaroni and cheese with those toasted croissants on the top. That thing is going to be gone in a flash. And then we got started on this creamed spinach and oyster dish. So I made another white sauce. I've got it really nice and thick, started with the melted butter. And in this particular recipe, instead of whole milk, I'm using whipping cream, so heavy cream to do this one. And as you can see, it's a really nice, thick mixture. I'm going to be adding some seasonings to this, but let's look at what I did over here in this great big cast iron skillet. I melted 3 tablespoons of butter while we were away. I got my medium-sized Vidalia onions sauteed, and then believe it or not, this is 2 bags of fresh spinach. And as you can see, I added 1 or 2 big handfuls at a time, and it just cooks down. So don't think you have to have a pan this big when you're doing this, because it'll cook down and is just perfect. So now I'm going to add in, this is just exactly the way I want it, nice and wilted. I'm going to start adding in my oysters, and we're going to cook these just until they're kind of curled on the side. So this is 2 pints of oysters, and I just picked these up right there in the seafood department at Fresh Market. And you just drain them good. I actually laid them out on some paper towels and got them nice and drained. And we're just going to cook these through. And while those are cooking, let's stir those about a bit. And it's not going to take that long for these to kind of get a little bit on the curly side. I actually have a very fond memory of an aunt that always made 2 dressings. She made the dressing without oysters, and then she made the dressing with the oysters, and we always knew that the oyster was the adult dressing, but it's actually really good, kids, if you want to try it. Okay, so those are going to cook up, and then over here in this white sauce, we're going to add about 1/4 of a teaspoon of red pepper, and then 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. And just blend that up really well. And this would be a great sauce just to put on broccoli or steamed cauliflower. If you can get down this easy technique to making a white sauce, it's just a wonderful sauce to add, you know, just to any vegetable that you might be doing. Okay, so these are just, as you can see, starting to get a little bit on the translucent side. I'll turn the heat up just a little bit. And we're going to use this instead of in a casserole dish. I'm going to actually put it in a pie plate. So I have prepared the plate with a little bit of olive oil, And then instead of using dried breadcrumbs, I just bought the sourdough rolls at Fresh Market and just put them in the food processor so that you've got a little bit of bulk to your breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to cover the bottom of the big deep pie dish with that. And then that'll be ready in just a minute. Oh, and I also want to add just a little bit of salt to that white sauce. Okay, so these are starting to get a little bit on the curly side. All right, so I'm going to start spooning this into the dish. Oh, this is going to be so good. And this is going to go in a broiler for about 4 or 5 minutes. So again, if you're trying to juggle space in that oven to keep from having to wonder how in the world you're going to get it all done, this is the perfect dish for you. So just over and above. And you know, I put so many good seasonings in the white sauce, I really didn't season the spinach at all. All right, so when we come back from the break, I'm going to get this out of the broiler, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like plated and talk about some other serving techniques. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, and Thanksgiving is certainly going to be really special this year at my house because I'm planning to serve all 3 of these dishes. And while we were away during the break, we got everything finished on the oysters, creamed oysters and spinach dish, layered everything, put the white sauce on top, just kind of layered it over, put a few more of the breadcrumbs on top, and then drizzled it with 2 tablespoons of butter. Then it went right up under the broiler for about 5 minutes. So here again, I know logistics is a big deal at Thanksgiving if you only have one oven for sure, but having a few dishes that don't take 30 or 45 or 50 minutes to cook is really advantageous when you're trying to juggle oven space. So as you can see, we've got 3 completely different looks, 3 different containers, and 3 wonderful dishes. The wild rice and kale just is so colorful with the sun-dried tomatoes, and you can see the big bulky pieces of kale in there. The macaroni and cheese is just so attractive with the croissants that have just opened up and popped open, just nice and golden brown. And then finally, the crispy crust on top of the spinach and oysters is just wonderful. And you know, you would never know that was a pie dish. I sat it on top of a ceramic large plate that sometimes I use as a cake server. Is really pretty. You could actually do leaves, fall leaves under it for a really great presentation. So let's dip up some of this and see what it looks like on the plate. And as you can see, nice and hearty and chunky. I'm going to go right in the center and get some of that. So you know, that even as a side dish during the regular year with a pork chop, that would be wonderful. Now, I know everybody can't wait to see what this macaroni and cheese is going to be like. Oh, wow. And that holds together so well. And you could do these in little individual muffin cups if you wanted to do that would be really great. And having that crust on the top is nice. And then finally, we've got the oysters. Oh, wow. That is spectacular looking. And you know, you don't have to wait until Thanksgiving or, you know, any other time of year to use these dishes. Just a really great opportunity to introduce something different and new. Oh, I'm going to have a quick bite of each just to see. That's really got a nice crispy crunch with the kale. The macaroni. You could taste all those different cheeses, and then there's nothing like creamed spinach, and then add oysters in with that. 3 completely different flavors. So as you get ready for your Thanksgiving dinner, I hope you'll give thought to using one of these. Our recipes are available at vera.mbc26.tv. That'll take you straight to our website with all of our recipes. But I want to take this opportunity to thank the people that are so close to me with this show. I want to particularly thank the Fresh Market, Tony, and all the people at the Fresh Market store here that greet me every week while I shop, and they sponsor this show for me. Three Monkeys and Aiken, Sally and Kathy, all the beautiful things that they bring to make my kitchen look so homey. I want to thank Robin Kelly and Araceli at Trend Salon. I wouldn't look this attractive if it wasn't for them. And then John and Brent at Flowers on Broad. The beautiful arrangements that we have every week are so wonderful. I want to thank my terrific crew here at NBC 26. Nicole, Evan, Matt, and Ricky do such a great job to help me. And then I want to thank my husband, my 5 children, my 6 grandchildren, and most importantly, I want to thank each of you. I'm so thankful that you invite me into your home every Saturday night. I wish for you the very best this year at Thanksgiving and throughout the year as you enjoy friends and family. And remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. And come back and see me next week for another episode of The Very Vera Show. Enjoy!